Amaka Nwok was the kind of woman people stared at when she walked into a room. Tall, beautiful, and always dressed like she had stepped out of a fashion magazine. She lived in a mansion in Lekki with her father, Chief Nwok, one of the most successful businessmen in Lagos. Her Instagram page looked like a dream: pictures in Dubai, videos in Paris, selfies in her Range Rover, and designer bags lined up behind her in every post. Everyone admired her, but few knew the truth: Amaka was tired. It wasn't the kind of tired that came from work or stress. It was the kind of tired that came from feeling unseen. Every time she met a man, it started the same way: "Wow, you're so beautiful. I've seen your dad's company, he's really doing well," or "You're Chief Nwok's daughter, right? I'd love to meet him someday." She had started to feel invisible, like no one saw Amaka the woman, only Amaka the rich man's daughter. One night, after another disappointing date with a guy who spent the whole evening bragging about how he could manage her father's investments, she slumped onto her bed and groaned. "Is it too much to ask for a man who loves me for me?" she muttered, kicking off her heels. Her best friend, Ngozi, who was scrolling through her phone on the couch, laughed. "My dear, welcome to Lagos. Men here don't date you, they date your lifestyle." Amaka threw a pillow at her. "You're not helping." But Ngozi just smiled. Okay. Then stop looking for love in the wrong places. Maybe you need to do something drastic." Amaka sat up, curious. "Like what?" Ngozi grinned mischievously. "Like disappearing from this your rich girl image. Go undercover. Dress simple. Hide your identity. If he loves you when he thinks you have nothing, then that's real love." Amaka laughed at first, but that night, the idea refused to leave her mind. She stared at the ceiling, thinking, what if I really tried it? What if I pretended to be a regular girl, no money, no luxury, no fame? Would anyone still love me? She smiled to herself. Let's see if true love still exists in this Lagos. And just like that, Operation Poor Girl began to form in her mind. The next morning, Amaka woke up with new energy and determination. Her plan felt crazy, but exciting, like she was about to start in her own social experiment. She walked straight to her massive walk-in closet. There were rows of shoes, handbags, and expensive gowns staring back at her. She said to herself, none of you will follow me where I'm going. She picked up an old denim skirt and a plain t-shirt she hadn't worn in years. She looked at herself in the mirror. Still too polished. So she quickly took off her long wig and went to her bathroom mirror, pulling her hair into simple braids. She looked again. Now we're talking, she whispered, smiling. Her next step was to find somewhere normal to live, a place where nobody would know she was Chief Nwok's daughter. She called her cousin, Ifeoma, who lived in Suralere, one of Lagos's busy middle-class areas. "Ifeoma, abeg, I need your help," Amaka said over the phone. "Help? From me? What happened?" "I want to stay with you for a few weeks. I just need a change of environment." Ifeoma burst out laughing. "You? In my small one-room apartment? Amaka, your handbag alone is bigger than my wardrobe." Amaka rolled her eyes. "I'm serious, Ife. I want to live like a normal person for a while. No driver, no chef, no AC. Just life as it is." After several minutes of teasing, Ifeoma finally agreed. "Okay, Madam Millionaire. But you will eat indomie and sardine like the rest of us, no complaints. Deal?" Amaka said, grinning. That evening, she packed a small bag, no designer logos this time, and left her father's mansion quietly. Her dad was away on a business trip, so she only left a note for the housekeeper. "Tell Daddy I went to stay with a friend for a while. I'll be fine." When she arrived at Ifeoma's compound, reality hit her fast. The place was noisy, children playing football in the corridor, a neighbor shouting from the balcony, and the smell of fried fish filling the air. "Welcome to the real Lagos," Ifeoma said proudly. Amaka laughed but tried not to breathe in too deeply. The air was nothing like Lekki's perfume-scented breeze. The next morning, she began her hunt for a job. After walking around the area and asking questions, she found a small restaurant called Mama Peace's Kitchen. The place was always busy, construction workers, drivers, and office people trooping in for breakfast and lunch. Mama Peace herself was a plump, cheerful woman with a loud voice and an even louder laugh. When Amaka asked if she could work there, the woman looked her up and down. It was Amaka's third day working at Mama Peace's Kitchen, and her body already ached in places she didn't know could ache. She had washed plates until her fingers wrinkled, carried trays filled with steaming rice and stew, and smiled at every customer like her life depended on it. "Madam Waitress. 2 bottles of malt here," a customer shouted from the corner. "I'm coming, sir," she replied quickly, balancing a tray of jollof rice in one hand. Mama Peace, who was stirring a big pot of egusi soup, glanced at her. "Oh, small madam, you dey try oh. But abeg, no break my plates, they no be for decoration." Amaka laughed tiredly. "Yes ma." Around noon, a man walked into the restaurant. He wasn't like the usual customers, no construction helmet, no dusty shoes. He was tall, clean, and had that confident but gentle look that turned heads. He wore a simple black t-shirt, jeans, and carried a camera around his neck. His skin glowed from the sun, and his smile was the kind that made people pause. Amaka noticed him immediately but quickly looked away. "Focus, Amaka. You came here for peace, not crash." He walked to the counter and said, "Good afternoon. Can I get jollof rice and fried plantain? And please, small meat if you still have." His voice was calm and deep. Amaka turned around with her best professional smile. "Yes sir, coming right up." When she returned with his food, he smiled warmly. "Thank you. You're new here, right?" Amaka froze for a moment. "Oh no, conversation alert." She forced a small smile. "Yes, I started this week." "That's nice," he said, opening his meal. "I like your energy. You look like someone who's not afraid of hard work." Amaka blinked, almost laughing. If only he knew she used to have 3 maids doing her laundry. "Thank you," she replied softly. He introduced himself. "I'm Tond. Photographer. I take pictures for brands and weddings." "You?" She hesitated for a second before saying, "Amaka. Waitress, and part-time dreamer." He chuckled. "I like that." From that day, Ton started coming every afternoon. Sometimes he ordered food, sometimes just a drink. But he always sat where he could talk to Amaka. They laughed about Lagos traffic, argued about music, and shared stories about growing up. Ton told her about how he was trying to build his photography business. "It's not easy, but one day, people will know my name. I believe that." Amaka admired his drive. He reminded her of the people she never met in her Lekki circle, people who fought daily to make something out of nothing. One evening, as she wiped tables after closing, Mama Peace winked at her. "Small madam, that photographer likes you oh. The way he dey look you Amaka laughed. "Oh Mama Peace, leave me jaw." But deep inside, her heart fluttered a little. Later that night, she called Ngozi to gist her. "So, there's this guy," Amaka began. Ngozi gasped immediately. "It's only been 1 week." Rich girl don't find love already. Amaka laughed. It's not like that, Jay. He's just different. He doesn't even know who I am. He talks to me like I'm a person, not a prize. Ngozi teased, I'm watching you. Oh. Don't go and fall for a broke fine boy. Amaka smiled quietly. Maybe broke fine boys are the real ones. As she lay in bed that night, she couldn't stop thinking about Ton's smile, and for the first time in a long while, she felt something real blooming inside her chest. Days turned into weeks, and Amaka found herself looking forward to seeing Ton every afternoon. The moment he entered Mama Peace's kitchen, her face would light up unconsciously. Amaka, you've been smiling since morning. Is it me or my food? Mama Peace teased one afternoon. Amaka laughed shyly. It's your delicious stew, Ma. Mama Peace shook her head knowingly. Stew KO, stew and I. Now that your fine photographer they caused the smile. I know blind. Amaka blushed and quickly escaped to serve a customer, pretending not to hear. Ton and Amaka's friendship grew naturally. They started having small conversations that felt easy, like they'd known each other for years. Sometimes, when the restaurant wasn't too busy, he'd show her the pictures on his camera, street shots of Lagos life, bus conductors shouting Ojulegba, little children playing football on dusty streets, women balancing baskets on their heads. See this one, he said one day, showing her a photo of a little girl smiling while holding roasted corn. I call this hope on the street. Amaka stared at the picture, her heart softening. It's beautiful. You really have a gift. Ton smiled. Thanks. But Lagos doesn't make it easy. People want pictures, but they don't want to pay. I'm still trying to save for my own studio. Don't worry, Amaka said gently. One day, they'll queue to book you. He looked at her like she'd said something magical. You really believe that? She nodded. Of course. You just have to keep pushing. It was moments like that, simple, genuine, that made Amaka forget who she really was. She wasn't Chief Nwok's daughter anymore. She was just Amaka, the girl who laughed, dreamed, and cared. Soon, Ton started taking her out after work. Nothing fancy, roasted corn by the roadside, chilled zobo in plastic cups, walks around the Lagos lagoon where they'd watch the sunset. They'd talk for hours, about life, their dreams, and what true happiness meant. Money is not everything, Ton said one evening as they sat on a bench, watching boats glide across the water. Some people have money but no peace. Me, I just want enough to live well and love someone who believes in me. Amaka smiled, her heart racing a little. That's a beautiful dream. He looked at her, smiling softly. And you? What do you want? She hesitated. I just want love that's real. Not because of what I have, but who I am. He nodded slowly. Then you deserve that. For a moment, their eyes locked, and the words seemed to pause. Amaka looked away quickly, pretending to adjust her wrapper. Let's go. It's getting late. Ton laughed and stood up. Fine. But one day, I'll take you on a real date, no roasted corn, no street zobo. Just us. She smiled, teasing, we'll see if you can afford that first. They both laughed, but deep inside, something warm and gentle was growing, something Amaka hadn't felt in a long time. That night, when she got home, Ifeoma was waiting for her with folded arms. You and that photographer are spending plenty time together, oh. Should I start buying osoebi? Amaka burst out laughing. I beg. We are just friends. 2 months had passed since Amaka first met Tond, and their friendship had grown into something deeper, something she was almost afraid to name. They saw each other every day. Sometimes he'd come to the restaurant just to keep her company, and other times he'd walk her home, carrying her bag like a gentleman. But lately, something had changed. Tond seemed more distant. He laughed less and complained more. When she asked what was wrong, he'd wave it off and say, "Nothing, I'm fine." But Amaka could tell, something was off. One hot Saturday afternoon, Tond invited her to his small studio in Yoba. It wasn't much, just a rented room with white walls, a laptop, and a few lights. But Amaka loved it. It was filled with life, photos of people, markets, sunsets, and smiles. "Wow," she said, touching a framed picture on the wall. "This is amazing, Tond. You've captured Lagos in such a real way." He smiled proudly. "I've been working hard, but clients don't always pay. I'm trying to save enough to move to a better location." She turned to him and said softly, "You'll get there. I believe in you." He looked at her, really looked, and for a moment, it felt like time paused. "Amaka, you're special, you know." Her heart skipped. "Me? Why?" "Because you don't act like the other girls I've met. You're simple, kind, down to earth." Amaka smiled awkwardly, her mind racing. If only he knew the truth. They sat quietly for a few minutes, sipping soft drinks, when Tond sighed deeply. "Can I be honest with you?" "Of course. I really like you. But sometimes I wonder if you think about the future. You're just working as a waitress, do you have any plans beyond that?" Amaka froze. "What do you mean?" He shrugged. "You're beautiful, smart, but I don't see you trying to improve yourself. Don't you want to go back to school or start a business?" She forced a small laugh. "Tond, not everyone has the same opportunities. I'm just doing what I can for now." He looked away and mumbled, "Yeah, but a man needs a woman who can grow with him, not one who's just waiting tables." Amaka's chest tightened. The words stung more than she expected. "So because I'm a waitress, I'm not good enough?" Tond immediately looked guilty. "No, that's not what I meant. I'm just saying." But she cut him off. "I understand. You want someone who can help you rise. Someone who fits your picture of success." "Amaka, please." She stood up, holding back tears. "Don't worry, Tond. I get it." She left before he could say another word. That evening, Amaka sat outside Ifeoma's apartment, staring into the night sky. Lagos felt louder than usual, horns blaring, generators humming, laughter echoing from nearby compounds. But inside her heart, there was silence. For weeks, she had told herself that Tond was different, that he saw her for who she truly was. But now, she wasn't so sure. Ifeoma joined her outside with 2 bottles of malt. "You look like somebody who just lost a jackpot," she said gently. Amaka sighed. "Maybe I did. Maybe he's not who I thought he was." Ifeoma placed a hand on her shoulder. "My dear, men will always show you who they are when money enters the picture, or when they think you don't have any." Amaka nodded slowly, her heart heavy. Then maybe it's time to find out what's really inside him. The following morning, Amaka woke up with puffy eyes and a heavy heart. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, Tond's words replayed in her mind like a broken record. "You're just a waitress, a man needs a woman who can help him rise." Those words burned deeper than she expected. She wasn't hurt because he criticized her job. She was hurt because he had begun to sound like all the others. The same shallow attitude she had run away from in her rich circle had found her here too. By the time she got to Mama Peace's kitchen, her mood was flat. Even Mama Peace noticed. On, small madam, who offend you? You no smile since morning. Amaka forced a weak grin. I'm fine, Ma. But she wasn't fine. Inside, she was torn between disappointment and curiosity. What if Tom's love was only surface deep? What if he only liked me when he thought I had potential to lift him? Later that evening, she called her best friend, Ngozi. Babe, I think I'm done with this whole pretending thing, Amaka said tiredly. Why? Ngozi asked, her voice rising. What happened? Amaka explained everything. Tom's comment, how he had changed, how it felt like he only respected her when he thought she could benefit him. Ngozi sighed. I suspected something like this. Lagos love no easy Everybody they look for who go lift them. I wanted to believe he was different, Amaka said softly. But maybe he's just like the rest. Ngozi was quiet for a few seconds before saying, okay, listen. I have an idea. Amaka groaned. Oh no. Not another one of your ideas. This one goes sweet, Ngozi said quickly. Remember that documentary project I told you about? The one I'm producing for my media company, Finding Real Love in Lagos. Yes, the one you said would expose how people act when money is out of the picture. Exactly. I think your story fits perfectly. Let's record this whole thing secretly, the dates, the conversations, everything. When the time is right, we'll reveal the truth. People will learn from it. Amaka hesitated. Ngozi, that's too much. I didn't start this to embarrass anyone. I just wanted to know if true love still exists. Ngozi's voice softened. I know, my friend. But sometimes, people only change when they see themselves from another angle. If Tom truly loved you, he'll stand proud even after the truth comes out. But if not, the world will see the lesson clearly. Amaka thought about it for a while. Maybe Ngozi was right. Maybe this was bigger than her. So, the next day, Ngozi visited Surale pretending to be a customer. She placed a small hidden camera inside her bag and another one near the restaurant window where Ton usually sat. For the next week, they quietly recorded short clips, Ton talking about his dreams, his complaints, his little remarks about ambitious women. Amaka didn't change her behavior, she kept being herself. Kind, gentle, and hardworking. But the more she recorded, the more she noticed something painful. Ton's attitude was slowly shifting. He began to get irritated when she couldn't hang out because of work. He'd frown when she talked about saving up to support her cousin. One evening, he sighed and said, Amaka, I just don't see how this relationship can move forward if things don't change. She blinked, pretending to be calm. What do you mean? He shrugged. I'm trying to build a brand, you know. I need a woman who can represent me well, someone with class, someone who can move with my kind of clients. Amaka's chest tightened. There it was. The truth. He didn't love her for who she was, he loved the idea of what she could be if she fit into his dream. That night, she called Ngozi again. You were right, she said quietly. He's failing the test. Ngozi didn't sound surprised. I told you. But don't worry. The test isn't over yet. What do you mean? Let's add one final twist. Something small to see how deep his heart really goes. Amaka exhaled. What kind of twist? Ngozi smiled over the phone. Ask him for help. Something little. If he truly loves you, he'll support you even when you can't offer him anything back. If he refuses, well, then you have your final answer. Amaka was silent for a moment before saying softly, okay. Let's do it. As she hung up, she looked out the small window of Ifeoma's apartment. The noisy Lagos street below was alive with honking cars, vendors shouting the pure water, and children playing football. But in her heart, a storm was gathering. This time, she wasn't just pretending to be poor, she was about to discover just how poor love could be when it lacked true character. By the next weekend, Amaka's poor waitress act had become second nature. She had even begun to forget who she really was, the daughter of one of Lagos's wealthiest hotel owners, a woman with a master's degree from London, and a car she hadn't driven in weeks. Every morning, she tied her scarf, slipped into her plain slippers, and walked to work like any other struggling girl in the city. And every evening, she'd meet Tond, who would take her to his favorite mama put for rice and beans. At first, she found it sweet. But lately, something had changed. That Friday evening, as they sat under the dim light of a street food joint, Tond's eyes kept darting toward a tall, well-dressed woman who was walking past them. She wore heels that clicked on the pavement and a body-hugging dress that screamed money. Wow, Tond whispered under his breath. See packaging. Amaka raised a brow. Excuse me. He laughed awkwardly. No vex. I just mean, she looks classy. You know, some people just carry themselves differently. Amaka stared at him for a long second. Like she's better than me. Tond's face tightened. You're taking it the wrong way. I'm just saying. She cut in, her tone calm but sharp. You're saying she looks expensive, and I don't. Tond scratched his head, unsure of what to say. Babe, it's not like that. You know I like you. But I just wish sometimes you'd try to, improve your look. Maybe fix your hair or wear something finer. Amaka's stomach twisted. She forced a smile and said, okay. I'll see what I can do. But inside, her heart burned. So, this was how he saw her. All this time, she thought he loved her simplicity, but maybe he was just tolerating it. Later that night, when Amaka got home, Ifeoma was sitting cross-legged on the bed, eating chin-chin and scrolling through TikTok. Amaka threw her bag on the chair. Ifeoma, I'm tired. Of work or of pretending to be broke? Ifeoma teased. Amaka sighed. Both. Ifeoma turned off her phone and looked up. What happened this time? Amaka told her everything, the classy woman, the comment about her looks, and how Tond's tone had changed. When she finished, Ifeoma whistled softly. My sister, this one done they show him real face oh. I think so too, Amaka said, slumping onto the bed. Men like that, Ifeoma continued, they only love you when they think you can help them rise. Once they realize you can't offer them status or money, their love starts to fade like old Ankara cloth. Amaka looked at the ceiling, lost in thought. Maybe I should end it before it gets worse. But Ifeoma grinned. Or, maybe it's time to give him a little shock. Amaka frowned. Shock? Yes now. Show him who you really are, but not all at once. Small. Let him start guessing. Amaka smiled slowly. That might just work. The following Sunday, she showed up to meet Tond, but this time, she looked different. Her simple slippers were replaced with sleek sandals, her scarf was neatly tied, and her plain gown was swapped for a well-fitted one that made her glow effortlessly. When Tond saw her, his jaw dropped. Oh, Amaka. You look, wow. She smiled innocently. Thank you. I just decided to treat myself today. He looked her up and down. You should do that more often. You look like a whole new person. She laughed softly. You mean, I finally look like the kind of woman you want to show off? Ton chuckled nervously. No, now, don't say that. But the truth was already hanging in the air, heavy and obvious. That night, when Amaka got home, she looked in the mirror and whispered, "If you can't love me when I look ordinary, you don't deserve me when I shine." From that day forward, her plan began to shift. She wasn't just testing Ton anymore, she was preparing to show him exactly who he had underestimated. And when that day came, Lagos would remember it. It was a bright Saturday morning in Lagos, and Amaka's plan was already in motion. Her father, Chief Nokri, was hosting a private business brunch at one of their family hotels on Victoria Island, the Golden Palm Suites. It was the kind of place where politicians and celebrities went to relax and close deals behind designer sunglasses. Normally, Amaka wouldn't have gone. But this time, she had a reason. Ton had mentioned a few days earlier that he'd be doing freelance photography at a big hotel event that weekend. When he described the place, Amaka immediately knew it was her father's hotel. She smiled to herself. Perfect timing. That morning, she ditched her usual plain clothes for a knee-length silk dress, gold hoop earrings, and soft curls that framed her glowing face. She looked effortlessly elegant, not flashy, just refined. When she arrived at the hotel, everyone greeted her with respect. "Good morning, Miss Nokri." "Welcome, Ma. Your father is inside the boardroom." But Amaka only smiled politely and made her way toward the banquet hall. Her plan wasn't to join the meeting, she just wanted to see the look on Ton's face when he realized who she really was. When he turned and saw Amaka walking into the hall, his jaw nearly hit the floor. "Amaka," he said under his breath, blinking as if he wasn't sure she was real. She smiled and walked up to him calmly. "Hi, Ton. What are you doing here? You work here too?" Before she could answer, one of the hotel managers, a man in a sharp suit, hurried over. "Oh, Miss Nwokari. Welcome, Ma. We've been expecting you. Your father is in the VIP section." Ton froze. His camera almost slipped from his hand. He turned to Amaka slowly, his mouth open. "Wait. Miss who?" Amaka looked at him with a small, knowing smile. "Nwokari. My father owns this place." The color drained from his face. "Your father owns Golden Palm Suites?" "Yes," she said simply. "And two others in Abuja." For a long moment, Ton just stood there, speechless. Then he forced a shaky laugh. "Wow. You've been keeping secrets, Amaka." She folded her arms. "No, Ton. I've just been living my truth, the version you said wasn't good enough." He looked away, embarrassed. "Babe, I didn't mean any harm. You should have told me. I thought you were struggling like me." "And if I was," she asked quietly, "would that make me less worthy of love?" Ton swallowed hard. "No, but you can't blame me for feeling misled." Amaka's expression stayed calm, but her voice softened. "Ton, the only thing you were misled by is your own mindset. You said you wanted a woman who would grow with you, but what you really wanted was someone who'd look good beside you, until something shinier came along." He started to speak, but she held up her hand. "I just wanted to know if you'd love me without the fancy car, the money, or the family name. Now I have my answer." Ton's voice cracked slightly. "Amaka, please don't do this here. Let's talk." She gave him a faint smile. "We just did." Then she turned and walked toward the VIP section, her heels clicking confidently against the marble floor. Everyone's eyes followed her, some in admiration, others in curiosity, but Ton just stood there, stunned, watching the woman he thought was ordinary walk away like a queen. That evening, When Amaka returned home, Ifeoma was waiting on the couch with popcorn and a mischievous grin. "So," she said eagerly. "Did he faint?" Amaka burst into laughter. "Almost. You should have seen his face, Ifeoma. It was like someone poured cold water on him." They both laughed until tears rolled down their cheeks. But deep down, Amaka's smile faded a little. Because beneath the fun and revenge, there was a sting. A disappointment that went deeper than she wanted to admit. Maybe part of her had hoped that Ton would pass the test. Maybe she really wanted him to be different. By Monday morning, Lagos was buzzing, and not just from traffic or generator noise. Something had gone viral. Ton's assistant, a young photographer named Malik, had secretly recorded the shocking moment at the hotel, from when Amaka entered looking like royalty, to when the manager greeted her as Miss Mockery, and Ton's stunned reaction. He had uploaded it on TikTok with the caption, "When your broke girlfriend turns out to be the daughter of your client, loudly crying face, broken heart, Lagos will humble you." Within hours, the video exploded. By afternoon, it had over 1.2 million views, thousands of comments, and even made it to Instagram blogs. Comments flooded in. "This life no balance, loudly crying face, loudly crying face." So he was forming big man for billionaire daughter. Sis tested him and he failed woefully. Nail polish medium skin tone, nail polish medium skin tone. Omo, Amaka for president. Everywhere Amaka went, people whispered or stared. Even at the restaurant, customers pointed at her and smiled. "That's her," one woman whispered loudly. "The one who pretended to be poor to find true love." Amaka rolled her eyes but smiled politely. Ifeoma, on the other hand, was having the time of her life. She scrolled through her phone, cackling every few minutes. "My sister, see, as people are calling you Lagos Cinderella. You're trending, oh." Amaka sighed. "I didn't ask to trend." Ifeoma grinned. "Abeg, enjoy it. Not all trending stories are bad. You've just inspired every girl in Lagos who's tired of fake love." Meanwhile, Tan was going through a different kind of fire. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing, messages, calls, tags, insults. "Bro, you see how TikTok finish you," one of his friends texted. Another wrote, "Guy, you for hold am tight now. Billionaire daughter no be beans." Tan threw his phone on the bed in frustration. Why did that idiot Malik even record it? Malik looked guilty. "Oga, I no say e go blow like this. I just post for fun." Tan rubbed his forehead. "Now everybody thinks I'm some gold digger. My clients are canceling shoots." A few days later, he showed up at the restaurant, looking tired and desperate. Amaka was serving customers when she saw him standing by the door, holding a bouquet of flowers. She froze for a second, then turned away. "Amaka, please," he said quietly, walking up to her. "Can we talk?" She sighed. "Turned, I'm working. I just need a few minutes. Please." Her boss, sensing the tension, nodded for her to step outside. They walked to the quiet corner behind the restaurant. Ton handed her the flowers. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have judged you. I was just shocked. I really liked you, Amaka. I still do." She looked at him, her expression calm but unreadable. "You liked the version of me you thought you could afford," Ton. "But the moment I looked richer, your tone changed." "That's not true," he protested. "I was just confused." Amaka shook her head slowly. "You failed the test, Ton. Not because you didn't know my background, but because you revealed yours." He frowned. "What do you mean?" She smiled faintly. "A person's true wealth is in how they treat others, not in their bank account." Ton lowered his head, guilt washing over him. "So this is it? You're done with me?" Amaka took a deep breath. "Yes, stunned. I've learned what I needed to learn. And with that, she walked back inside, leaving him standing alone, holding the bouquet of flowers that suddenly felt very useless. That night, Amaka got a call from her father. "Amaka, my dear," Chief Nokri said in his calm baritone, "I saw your face on the internet. You've caused quite a storm." Amaka laughed nervously. "I didn't plan for it, Daddy. It just happened." He chuckled. "Sometimes life gives you drama for free. But I must say, you handled yourself well. Your mother and I are proud." She smiled. "Thank you, Dad." Then he added, "Oh, and one of my business partner's sons saw the video too. He said he's impressed by your humility and wants to meet you." Amaka raised an eyebrow. "Another man?" Her father laughed. "This one seems serious. His name is Michael Adeyemi." Amaka didn't think much of it at first. But when she met Michael 2 weeks later, tall, charming, confident, and surprisingly kind, something about him felt different. And that was when her story took another unexpected turn. It was a calm Sunday afternoon at the Palms in Lekki, one of Lagos's favorite spots for brunch and gossip. Amaka sat at a quiet corner table, sipping her pineapple juice and checking her messages. She was supposed to meet her father's business partner's son, Michael Adeyemi. But she wasn't sure what to expect. She had met enough rich men's sons to know the type: loud, proud, and obsessed with money. She promised herself that if he was anything like that, she'd leave after 10 minutes. Then, a soft voice interrupted her thoughts. "Excuse me, are you Amaka Nokri?" She looked up. Standing before her was a tall, well-built man in a casual white shirt and jeans. His smile was warm, his eyes gentle, the kind that made you feel seen. "Yes, I am," she said, smiling politely. He nodded and took a seat. "I hope I'm not late. Lagos traffic tried to test my patience today." Amaka laughed lightly. "Traffic doesn't care who you are in Lagos." "True," he said, laughing too. "Even billionaires are powerless on Third Mainland Bridge." That broke the ice immediately. They began to talk about work, travel, life, and even about social media madness. "So," Michael said, leaning back, "you're the famous Amaka who pretended to be poor to find love." Amaka groaned playfully. "Please don't remind me. That thing turned my life upside down." He chuckled. "Honestly, I found it brilliant. You just wanted something real. There's nothing wrong with that." Amaka tilted her head, curious. "Most people called it crazy." "Crazy," he said with a smile, "is just another word for brave." Amaka blinked, taken aback by how genuine he sounded. As their lunch went on, she noticed something unusual about Michael. He never bragged. He never mentioned money. He didn't try to impress her, he just listened. Really listened. When she spoke, he made her feel like her words mattered. At one point, Amaka asked him, "What do you do?" "I run a tech startup," he said simply. "But honestly, I prefer talking about people, not profits." She smiled. "That's rare." He nodded. "The world has enough people chasing money. I'm more interested in meaning." Amaka felt something stir in her heart, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Over the next few weeks, Michael became a constant presence in her life. He sent her random messages like, "Did you eat? Check your mirror. You're too fine to frown. I'm proud of how real you are." They took long walks on evenings around Lekki Phase 1, laughing and sharing roasted corn and coconut water. One night, as they sat by the lagoon, Michael looked at her and said, "You know, Amaka, what I like about you isn't your name or your father's hotels. It's that you're not afraid to be yourself, even when people don't understand you." Her eyes softened. You mean, even when I pretend to be poor, she teased. He smiled. Even then. Because pretending doesn't change who you are, it just reveals who others are. That night, Amaka went home with a full heart. For the first time since stunned, she felt peace. No guessing games, no tests, no pretenses. Just real connection. Meanwhile, social media had moved on from the drama. New scandals were trending, and Amaka's name had quietly faded from the spotlight. But something else was beginning to trend: her happiness. Ifeoma noticed it first. "Babe," she said one morning, "you're glowing like generator light after NEPA bring light back." Amaka burst out laughing. "Abeg, leave me, Jia." Ifeoma grinned. Michael dey feed that glow ABI. Amaka tried to hide her smile. "He's different." "Different how?" "He makes me feel seen. Not because of what I have, but because of who I am." Ifeoma's smile softened. "Then, my sister, maybe this one is the love you were pretending to be poor to find." Amaka stared out the window, thinking about it. Maybe Ifeoma was right. But she also knew something important. Before she could fully open her heart to Michael, she needed closure with Tond, once and for all. It was a cloudy Saturday evening in Suraleh. The sky was grey, and the wind carried the smell of distant rain. Amaka stood outside a small cafe, Beans and Brew, the same place she and Tond had gone to a few times when things between them were good. She had sent him a simple text that morning. "Hi Tond, can we talk? Just once, for closure." He had replied within minutes. "I'll be there." And now, as she sat at the same corner table where they used to laugh over meat pies and malt, memories came flooding back. She remembered how nervous he had been on their first date, how he had always tried to impress her, and how quickly that effort vanished when he thought she had nothing to offer. A part of her still hurt. But she wasn't angry anymore. She was ready to let go. Tond arrived a few minutes later. He looked thinner, quieter, like someone who'd been through a storm. He smiled faintly when he saw her. "You look good, Amaka." She returned the smile politely. "You too." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Tond sighed deeply. "I've been wanting to see you, but I didn't know if you'd even pick my call." "I wasn't ready before," Amaka said softly. "But I am now." He nodded, fidgeting with his cup. "I messed up. I judged you too quickly. I thought I wanted a simple life, a woman I could build with. But I realized I just didn't know what real love meant." Amaka looked at him calmly. "Tond, you didn't fail because you weren't rich. You failed because you didn't see value in me when you thought I had nothing." He swallowed hard. "I know. I was foolish. The video going viral, it humbled me. People mocked me, clients stopped calling. But honestly, that was the least painful part." "What was the most painful?" she asked gently. He met her eyes. "Losing you. Not because of your background, but because I realized you were the kind of woman I should have fought to understand, not to impress." Amaka's heart softened for a moment, but she stayed firm. "I appreciate your honesty, Tond. But we were never meant to last. You were part of my story, not my ending." Tond nodded slowly, his eyes misty. "So, there's someone else now?" She hesitated, then smiled. "Yes. And he sees me, the real me, without tests or conditions." Tond looked down, then back up with a sad smile. "Then I'm happy for you, Amaka. Truly." You deserve that. For the first time in a long while, Amaka believed him. They talked for a while longer, about lessons learned, about forgiveness, about moving forward. When it was time to leave, Tom stood and said quietly, "Thank you for meeting me. I hope someday, I meet someone who teaches me love the way you did, even if it was through pain." Amaka smiled warmly. "You will. Just remember to love with open eyes, not open pockets." He chuckled softly. "You haven't changed." "I have," she said. "Just not in the way you think." Then she turned and walked away, her heart finally light, no bitterness, no regret. Just peace. Later that night, as Amaka sat on her balcony watching the rain, Michael called. "Hey you," he said. "How was your day?" She smiled. "Peaceful. I closed a chapter that needed to end." He paused. "And how do you feel?" "Free," she said honestly. "Good," he replied. "Because I've been planning something for you." Amaka raised an eyebrow. "Something like what?" He laughed. "You'll see. Just clear your Saturday next week." She smiled, her heart fluttering. "All right, Mr. Mysterious." As she hung up, she couldn't help but feel that whatever Michael was planning might just be the beginning of something beautiful, something real. The following Saturday dawned bright and beautiful. The sun poured golden light over Lagos, the streets buzzing with weekend energy, vendors shouting, music floating from balconies, and the smell of suyo in the air. Amaka stood in front of her mirror, trying to pick an outfit for whatever surprise Michael had planned. She finally settled on a soft pink dress and a pair of simple gold earrings. Nothing too fancy, just her. Michael had told her, no makeup wore, no high heels, just come as yourself. That line alone made her smile. By noon, he arrived at her house in a simple black car, wearing jeans and a white linen shirt. His usual calm energy filled the air as he greeted her with a warm hug. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready," she said, curious. They drove through the lively city, past markets, through bridges, into quiet estates, until they arrived at a beautiful orphanage on the outskirts of Lekki. Amaka blinked. "An orphanage?" Michael nodded. "Yes. This is my favorite place in Lagos. I spend every last Saturday of the month here with the kids." Her heart melted instantly. As they walked inside, children ran up to greet him, shouting, "Uncle Michael," and hugging him excitedly. He laughed and lifted two of them at once, spinning them around. Amaka stood there, smiling so wide her cheeks hurt. He introduced her to the matron, Mama Tessie, who said warmly, "You must be the famous Amaka. We've heard plenty about you." Amaka laughed shyly. "All good things, I hope." Mama Tessie winked. "All good things, and one small request." Michael said, "You're good with children. You'll be helping us with story time today." Amaka gasped playfully. "Story time? Me?" Michael grinned. "Yes, Miss Actress. You'll be fine." She sat with a group of about 15 children, bright-eyed, curious, full of energy. She began to tell them a story about a girl who pretended to be poor just to find out who really loved her. The children laughed, gasped, and listened like it was the best movie ever made. When she finished, one little girl raised her hand and asked innocently, "Auntie, did she find true love?" Amaka smiled softly and looked at Michael, who was leaning against the wall watching her with pride. "Yes," Amaka said. "She found true love, not in money or fame, but in kindness and truth." The children clapped. After story time, Michael handed out snacks, and Amaka helped serve them. She noticed how gently he spoke to the kids, how he remembered their names, and how naturally compassion flowed from him. When they finally left the orphanage in the evening, the sky was painted orange and pink. They stopped by the beach on their way back, sitting quietly as waves crashed in the distance. Amaka turned to him and said, "Michael, you didn't have to bring me here, but I'm glad you did." He smiled. "I wanted you to see who I am when no one's watching. You've been through people pretending for love. I just wanted to show you that love doesn't need pretending." Amaka's heart swelled. "You've already shown me that." He took her hand gently. "Still, there's one more thing." From his pocket, he pulled out a small velvet box. Amaka gasped. "Michael." He smiled. "Relax. It's not what you think, not yet." He opened the box to reveal a delicate gold bracelet with the inscription, "Loved for who you are." He placed it on her wrist. A reminder that you never have to pretend again. Tears filled her eyes. "Michael, this means more than you know." He brushed a tear from her cheek. "You're not just the girl who pretended to be poor. You're the woman who found herself, and helped others find real love in the process." She smiled through her tears. "And you're the man who saw beyond the mask." He grinned. "So, do I pass your test?" She laughed softly. "You didn't even need to take one." Then, under the warm Lagos sunset, he leaned in and kissed her, gently, sincerely, like a promise. For the first time, Amaka didn't have to wonder if the love was real. She knew it was. Amaka and Michael's relationship blossomed quietly. No drama, no social media gossip, just peace. Together, they started a small foundation that provided scholarships for orphans and low-income children. Whenever people asked Amaka about her viral "pretend to be poor" story, she always smiled and said, "I wasn't looking for a man to love my wealth. I was looking for one who could love my worth." And now, she'd found him.